Chanting the names of Manjushri. The Arya Manjushri Nama Samgiti Sutra. Part 1. 16 verses on requesting instructions. Now, the glorious Vajradhara, superb in taming those difficult to tame, being victorious over the triple world, a hero, an esoteric ruler, a lord with his weapon, his eyes opened white lotuses, and face like a pale red lotus in bloom. In his hand, waving now and again the best of Vajras. With endless Vajrapanis, showing billows of angry brows, heroes in taming those difficult to tame, their forms heroic and fearsome. Their hands waving the flashing-tipped Vajras, excellent agents for the sake of the world by their great compassion and insight and means. By disposition happy and joyful, delightful, but with forms of wrath and hostility, protectors in doing the duty of the Buddhas. Altogether they stood bent down in homage. Bowing to the protector, the completely awakened, the Blessed One, the Tathagata Vajradhara stood in front, his hands folded in homage. He spoke these words: "For my sake, my benefit, O Overlord, through compassion towards me, may I be an obtainer of the realization process of illusion's net. For the sake of all beings being sunk in unknowing, their minds confused in defilement, that they may obtain the highest fruit. May the completely awakened, the Blessed One, the Teacher, the Guide of the world, knowing the reality of the great vow, highest in knowing the faculties and dispositions, may he reveal the litany of names of Manjushri, the Gnostic entity, who is self-proclaimed, embodies Gnosis, the Blessed One's Gnostic body, vocal Lord, the great coronal dome. This excellent litany of names, with depth of meaning and lofty meaning, with great meaning, unequal and blessed, wholesome in beginning, wholesome in the middle, wholesome in the end. That which was spoken by previous Buddhas will be spoken by the future ones, and that which the completely awakened in the present recite, again and again. The litany of names, extolled in the Maya Jalamaha Tantra by unlimited, delighted Mahavajradharas, bearers of mantras. Until deliverance I will preserve it with steadfast intention, since I am, O Protector, the esoteric bearer for all completely awakened. For the destruction of their every defilement and elimination of all their unknowing, I will reveal this litany to beings each according to his own disposition. Having beseeched the Tathagata thus for instruction, Vajrapani, this esoteric leader, his body bent, his hands folded in homage, stood in the fore of the assembly. The 6 verses of reply. Then Shakyamuni, the Blessed One, the completely awakened, the best of men, having thrust from his mouth his beautiful, long, wide tongue, he displayed a smile cleansing the 3 evil states of existence, throughout the worlds illuminating the triple world, and chastened the enemies, the 4 Maras. Flooding the triple world with his divine sweet praise, he replied to Vajrapani, the esoteric leader of great power. Well done, O glorious Vajradhara! It is proper of you, Vajrapani, that prompted by great compassion for the world's benefit, you are eager to hear from me the litany of names of the Gnostic body of Manjushri, having great meaning, purifying and clarifying transgression. That is well done, and I will teach it to you, O esoteric ruler. Listen with your mind single-pointed, O Blessed One. That is well done. The 2 reverses of reflecting on the 6 families. Then, the Buddha Shakyamuni, the Blessed One, reflected on the 3 families, the entire mantra family, the mantra Vidyadhara family, the worldly and superworldly family, the grand world illuminating family, and the foremost family, the Mahamudra, and the great family, the exalted coronal dome. The 3 verses on the steps in the realization process of illusion's net. The Shakyamuni Buddha produced this mystic verse, having 6 mantra rajas, and possessing unarisen characteristics, being non-dual and arising, and joined with the vocal chords, the syllables, a, e, u, e, I, o, a. Stand in the heart. I am Buddha, the embodied knowledge of the Buddhas occurring in the 3 times. Om, homage to you, embodied knowledge of insight, cutter of suffering, sharp as a vajra. Homage to you, Lord of speech, Gnostic body, Arapachana. The 14 verses on the Vajradhatu Mahamandala. And this way, the Blessed One, the Buddha Manjushri, the completely awakened, born from the syllable A, is the syllable A. The foremost of all phonemes, the great meaning, the supreme syllable. Aspirated, unoriginated, without uttering a sound, he is the foremost cause of all expression, shining forth within all speech. His great desire is an exalted festival, securing the happiness of all beings. His great anger is an exalted festival, being the enemy of all defilements. His great delusion is an exalted festival, subduing the delusion of those in dull wit. His great wrath is an exalted festival, the great enemy of great wrath. His great avarice is an exalted festival, subduing all avarice. His great desire is the great delight, grand happiness, and great pleasure. Of great form and great body, with great color and grand physique, with exalted name he is very noble, having a grand, expansive mandala. Bearing the great sword of insight, with great ankus for defilements, he is foremost, greatly famous, very renowned, with great light and exalted splendor. Bearing the grand illusion, he is wise, accomplishing the objects of beings in the grand illusion. Delighted with the pleasure of the grand illusion, he is conqueror of grand illusions. Highest in the Lord of great giving, foremost in exalted morality, firm in embracing great forbearance, he is zealous with great heroism. Present in exalted jhana meditation and concentration of samadhi, bearing his body of great insight, he is great strength, great means, he is aspiration and the Gnostic ocean. Unlimited in loving kindness, great compassionate and most intelligent, with great insight and grand intellect, he is great in means with profound performance. Arriving at great strength and psychic power, very intense and very fast, employing great psychic power, and bearing the name Great Lord, his zeal is in great strength. Splitter of the vast mountain of existence, being Maha Vajradhara, he is indestructible. Being very fierce and very terrible, he creates fear in the very ferocious. Being highest with Mahavidyas, he is the great protector. Being highest with Mahamantras, he is the guide. Having mounted to the practice of the great vehicle, he is highest in the practice of the great vehicle. The 25 verses, less a quarter, on the very pure Dharmadhatu Gnosis. Being Mahavarochana, he is Buddha. He is a great sage with profound sapience. As he is produced by the great practice of mantras, by nature he is the greatest practice of mantras. Having obtained the 10 perfections, he is the basis for the 10 perfections. Being the purity of the 10 perfections, he is the practice of the 10 perfections. Being the Lord of the 10 stages, he is the protector established on the 10 stages. Himself pure with the 10 knowledges, he is the pure bearer of the 10 knowledges. Having 10 aspects, his purpose being the 10 referents, he is the leader of the sages, a 10-powered one, an overlord, performing all and every sort of purpose. He is great, with control in 10 aspects. Beginningless and by nature without diffusion, naturally pure and in nature suchness, explaining just how it is, and says as he says, so he does, without any other speech. Non-dual, with proclaiming non-duality, he stands just at the limit of actuality. With the lion's roar of egolessness, he frightens the deer that is the evil heretic. Penetrating everywhere, his path is fruitful, with a speed like the tatagatas' thoughts. He is a victor whose enemies are conquered, and a conqueror, a universal ruler with great strength. At the head of the hosts, a preceptor of hosts, a lord of hosts, and a commander of hosts with power. He is foremost through great sustaining power, and with excellent practice, not to be guided by others. As the lord of speech, the commander of speech possessed by eloquence, he is the master of speech unending in fluency. And with true speech he speaks the truth, teaching the four truths. Not turning back and not seeking rebirth, he is like a rhinoceros, a leader of self-enlightenment. Having been delivered by various kinds of deliverance, he is the unique cause of the great elements. An arhat, a bhikshu with his impurities exhausted. He is separated from passion, his senses subdued. He has obtained ease and fearlessness, becoming cool and limpid. Completed in wisdom and good conduct, he is well gone, Sugata, the best counselor of the world, without a sense of I or mine. He is established in the practice of the two truths. Standing at the utmost limit of samsara, he rests on a terrace. His duty done, having rejected isolatory knowledge, he is the cleaving sword of insight. With true Dharma, a king of Dharma, shining, he is supreme as a luminary of the world. A lord of Dharma, a king of Dharma, he is the instructor in the path towards well-being. His aim accomplished and thought accomplished, he has abandoned thought. Devoid of mentation, his sphere is indestructible. The Dharmadhatu, supreme, imperishable. Possessed of merit, with accumulated merit. He is knowledge and the great source of knowledge. Possessed of knowledge in knowing the real and unreal, he has accumulated the two accumulations. Eternal, a universal ruler, a yogin, he is meditation and to be reflected upon. The Lord of the intelligent, he is to be personally realized. Truly unshakable, primeval, bearing the triple body. A Buddha in his nature of 5 bodies, an overlord by his nature of 5 types of Gnosis, wearing a crown whose by nature is 5 Buddhas. Having 5 eyes, he maintains dissociation. The progenitor of all Buddhas, he is Buddha's son, supreme, the best, arisen from existence and insight. He is sourceless. His source is the Dharma, while he puts an end to existence. His unique essence is impenetrable. Himself a Vajra, immediately arisen, he is the Lord of the world. Arisen from the sky and self-arisen, he is the exalted fire of insightful Gnosis. Vairocana, the great luminary, the light of Gnosis, he is the illuminator, the lamp of the world, the torch of Gnosis, with great splendor, he is radiant light. Vidyaraja, the lord of excellent mantras, he is Mantra Raja, performing of the great goal. As the exalted coronal dome, the marvelous coronal dome, he teaches in every sort of way, the Lord of Space. Foremost, as he is the physical presence of all Buddhas, with his eyes bringing happiness to the world, with manifold form he is the creator, a great sage to be worshipped and honored. Bearing the 3 families, he is the possessor of mantras. Bearing up mantras and the great vow, he is best in bearing up the triple gem, and the highest teacher of the triple vehicle. Being a Mogha Pasha, he is victorious. As Vajra Pasha, he is a great grabber. He is Vajrakusha, with a great noose. The 10 verses, plus a quarter, on the mirror-like Gnosis. The great terror being, Vajra Bhairava, king of furies, the 6-headed and terrible, 6-eyed and 6-armed and strong. He is a skeleton bearing its fangs, 100-headed, Hala Hala, Yamantaka, the king of obstructions. With the force of a Vajra, the creator of fear, he is the famous Vajra, with Vajra in his heart, having the illusory Vajra and a great belly. A lord with his weapon, whose source is Vajra, with the essence of Vajra he is like the sky, and having a unique, unmoving multitude of tufts of hair, he is wet in bearing the elephant skin garment. With great terror, saying, Ha, ha, and creating fear, saying, he, with a terrible laugh, a great laugh. He is Vajrahasa, the great clamor. He is Vajrasattva, the great being, and Vajraraja, with great bliss. Indestructible, violent with great delight, he performs the hum of the Vajra Homkara. Taking his weapon, the arrow of Vajra, with the sword of Vajra he slashes. Holding the crossed Vajra, a possessor of Vajra, with the unique Vajra he is victorious in battle. Having terrible eyes, blazing like a Vajra, with a hair blazing like a Vajra, he is Vajravesha, in exalted possession, with 100 eyes, eyes of Vajra. His body hairs bristling like Vajras, a unique body with Vajra hair. The origin of his nails in tips of Vajras. He has skin which is impenetrable, and in essence Vajra. Glorious in bearing a rosary of Vajras, and ordained by ornaments of Vajra. His is the great noise, and the terrible laugh, ha, ha, and the 6 syllables with noise like a Vajra. The gentle-voiced Manjushri, with a great roar, he is great with the sound unique in the world. He is sonnets as far as the end of the sphere of space, and the best of those possessed of sound. The 42 verses on the Gnosis in individual inspection. Being suchness, actual egolessness, the limit of actuality, and devoid of syllables, he is a bull among the speakers of emptiness, with a roar both deep and high. As the conch of the Dharma, he has a great sound, and as the gong of the Dharma, he has a great noise. By his non-localized nirvana, he is the drum of the Dharma, in the 10 directions. Without form, and with form, he is the foremost. With various forms made of thought, being the majesty and the shining of all form, he bears the reflected images in their totality. Invincible, distinguished, the lord over the triple sphere, being well advanced on the noble path, he is the crest ornament of the Dharma with great sovereignty. His body, uniquely youthful in the triple world, he is an elder, old, the lord of creatures, bearing the 32 marks of the Mahapurusha, he is charming and handsome in the triple world. A preceptor of the qualities and knowledge of the world, with confidence he is the preceptor of the world. He is the protector, preserver, trustworthy in the triple world, a refuge and the highest defender. His active experience of Sambhoga, the extension of space, he is the ocean of the omniscience Gnosis. He splits the shell around the egg of ignorance, and tears the net of existence. With the general defilements totally pacified, he has gone to the far shore of Samsara's ocean, wearing the crown of Gnostic consecration he has for his own ornament, the perfectly awakened. Easing the distress of the 3 kinds of suffering, and bringing the 3 to an end, he is endless, passed to the triple liberation, released from all veils, he has passed to the state of equality like space. Beyond the filth of all defilements, he thoroughly comprehends the 3 times and timelessness. He is the great snake of all beings, the crown of whose crowned with qualities. Released from all residues, he is well established in the track of space. Bearing the great wish-fulfilling gem, he is the highest of all jewels, the overlord. He is the wide-wishing tree, and the best of great good vases. An agent acting for the sake of beings, he desires their benefit, with affection towards all beings. Knowing the skillful and the destructive, and aware of timing, he understands the occasion, and possessing his vow as the overlord, knowing the faculties of beings and the correct opportunity, he is skilled in the triple release. Possessed of qualities, knowing qualities and knowing Dharma, he is auspicious, arisen from auspiciousness, the great auspicious of all that is auspicious, the auspiciousness of all that is auspicious. He is fame and fortune, renown and goodness. Being the great festival, the great respite, the grand happiness, and the great pleasure, he is the considerate reception, hospitality, prosperity, real joy, glory, and the lord of renown. Possessing of excellent, the best benefactor, giving refuge, he is the highest refuge. Among the enemies of great fear, he destroys without exception all fear. With a tuft of hair, with a crest of hair, an ascetic with braided hair and twisted locks, he has a shaven head and crown, having 5 faces and 5 hair knots. His flowered crown is of 5 knots of hair. Holding to the great vow of austerity, he wears the ascetic's grass girdle. His practice pure and highest and austere vow, having great penance and having gone to the fulfillment of asceticism, he has taken his ritual bath to be the foremost Gautama. The divine Brahmana, knower of Brahman, he is Brahma without attaining Brahma Nirvana. He is release, liberation, his body is true liberation. He is true release, peacefulness, and final blessedness. He is Nirvana, cessation, peace, well-being, deliverance, and termination. Ending pleasure and pain, he is the utter conclusion, renunciation with the residues destroyed. Unconquered, incomparable, indistinct, invisible, and yet spotless, he is partless with total access, all-pervading, all-subtle, a seed without impurities, without dirt, dustless, stainless, with faults expelled, and free from disease, he is wide awake, himself awakened, omniscient, universally knowing and supreme. Gone beyond the conditionality of consciousness, he is Gnosis, bearing the form of non-duality, devoid of mentation, spontaneous, he performs the duty of the Buddhas of the 3 times. Without beginning or end, he is Buddha, Adi Buddha, without casual connection. Stainless with his unique eye of Gnosis, he is embodied Gnosis, the Tathagata. A lord of speech, the great expounder, the king of speakers, the chief of speakers. He is supreme in being the most excellent among those speaking, the invincible lion of elucitors. Seen in all directions, elation himself with a garland of splendor, handsome, the beloved of Shri, radiant, illuminating, he is light, with the splendor of the illuminator. Being the best of great physicians, he is superb, and as a surgeon the finest. As the tree of every sort of medicine, he is the great enemy of sickness of defilement. In being the Tilaka mark of the triple world, he is pleasing and glorious. With the mystic circle of the lunar mansions, extending as far as the sky in the 10 directions, he raises the banner of the Dharma. Being the unique, vast umbrella for the world, he is the mystic circle of loving kindness and compassion. As Padma Narteshvara, he is glorious, variegated like a jewel, the great overlord. Being an exalted king among all Buddhas, he bears the body of the Buddhas. As the Mahayoga of all Buddhas, he is the unique teaching of all Buddhas. Glorious with the consecration of Vajraratna, he is the lord among all jeweled monarchs. Being lord over all Lokeshvaras, he is the monarch over all Vajradharas. As the great mind of all Buddhas, he is present in the mind of all Buddhas. Having the exalted body of all Buddhas, he is the Sarasvati of all the Buddhas. The Vajra-like sun, the great light, with the stainless brilliance of the Vajra-like moon, and with the great desire of renunciation and so forth, he is the blazing light in every sort of color. Maintaining the cross-legged position of the completely awakened, he preserves the Dharma discussion by the Buddhas. Arisen from the lotus of the Buddhas, he is glorious, wearing the treasury of the omniscience Gnosis. Bearing every sort of illusion, he is king and the holder of the incantations of the Buddhas. He is exalted, Vajratikishna. With the great sword, he is pure with the highest syllable, whose great weapon is the Vajradharma, of the great vehicle which cuts off suffering. He conquers the victors, and deep as a Vajra, with Vajra-like intellect, knows objects just as they are. Fulfilling all the perfections, he wears as ornaments all the levels. As the egolessness of the pure Dharma, his light in his heart is from the moon of perfect Gnosis. With the great perseverance of the Maya Jala, becoming the monarch of all Tantras, he is supreme, maintaining every cross-legged position. He bears every Gnostic body. As Samanta Bhadra, the very intellect, being Kasiti Harba, supporting the world, as the great womb of all Buddhas, he bears the wheels of every sort of transformation. Foremost as the proper nature of all existence, he maintains the proper nature of all existence. By nature unarisen, yet with every sort of referent, he bears the proper nature of all dharmas. Having great insight in one instance, he maintains the internal comprehensions of all dharmas. With his realization toward the Dharma, and as the sage at the end of actuality, he is very sharp. Motionless, himself very clear, he bears the enlightenment of the perfect completely awakened, face to face with all Buddhas, having fire tongues of Gnosis and radiant light. The 24 verses on the Gnosis of equality. As the accomplisher of the desired object, supreme, purifying all evil existences, being the highest of beings, he is protector, the liberator of all beings. Alone the hero in the battle with defilements, he kills the pride of the enemy, unknowing. He is intelligence and glory, maintaining an amorous manner, yet he bears a form of heroic and fearsome. Shaking 100 handheld clubs, dancing with the placing of the feet, with the extension of 100 glorious arms, he dances the full expanse of space. Standing on the summit of the earth which is being overcome by the bottom of one foot, he stands on the nail of the foot's big toe, overcoming the peak of the egg of Brahma. Being the one goal in the ultimate sense of the non-dual Dharma, he is absolute truth, imperishable. While his sense objects are in forms of various representations, he is uninterrupted in mind and consciousness, with pleasure towards every existential object, and with every pleasure in emptiness. He has foremost intellect. Having gone beyond the desire, and so forth with existence, his great pleasure is towards the 3 kinds of existence. White like a pure, radiant cloud, and shining like the beams of an autumn moon, with the beauty of the mystic circle of the newly risen sun, the light from his nails is intensely red. His fine hair locks with points of sapphire, and bearing with his hair crest a great sapphire. Glorious with the luster of great jewels, his ornaments are transformations of the Buddha. Shaking hundreds of worldly spheres, he strides wide with feet of psychic power, Bearing the great recollection, he is reality, the king over the concentration of the four recollections. Fragrant from the blossoms of the limbs of enlightenment, being the ocean of qualities of the Tathagata, in knowing the practice of the eight-limbed path, he knows the path of the perfect completely awakened. Greatly adhering to all things, he adheres to nothing. Like the sky, arisen from the mind of all beings, he has the speed of the minds of all beings. Knowing the value of the faculties of all beings, he captures the hearts of all beings. Knowing the reality of the meaning in the five skandhas, he is the pure bearer of the five skandhas. Established at the limit of all modes of deliverance, he is skilled in all modes of deliverance. Established on the path of all modes of deliverance, he is the teacher of all modes of deliverance. Rooting out existence in its 12 limbs, he is the pure bearer of 12 aspects. With the aspect of the practice of 4 truths, he maintains the realization of the 8 knowledges. His referent truth in 12 aspects, knowing the 16 aspects of reality, he is totally enlightened to the 20 aspects, awake, omniscient, and supreme. Sending forth crores of emanating bodies of uncountable Buddhas, his complete realization is in every moment, knowing the objects of every instance of mind. Considering the purpose of the world by the means of practicing the various vehicles, while delivered by the triple vehicle, he is established in the fruit of the unique vehicle. Himself purified from defiled elements, he subdues the elements of karma. Crossed over the ocean of the floods, he has departed the wilderness of the adhesions. Along with the perfuming elements, he casts off the defilements, the associate defilements, and the general defilements. Being compassion and insight in means, he acts successfully for the sake of the world. His purpose the casting off of all conceptions. Towards the objects of consciousness he maintains suppression. His referent the mind of all beings. He is present in the mind of all beings. Established within the mind of all beings, he enters into equality with their minds. Satisfying the minds of all beings, he is the pleasure of all beings' minds. Being the final statement, free from bewilderment, he is exempt from all error. Having 3 referents, his mind is free of doubt. And having all objects, his mind is of 3 qualities. His referents, the 5 skandhas and the 3 times, he considers every instant. Obtaining total awakening in 1 instant, he is the bearer of all the proper nature of all the Buddhas. Having a bodiless body, the foremost of bodies, he sends forth crores of bodies. Displaying forms without exception, he is Ratnakatu, the great gem. To be realized by all the Buddhas, as the enlightenment of the Buddha, he is supreme, devoid of syllables, his source is in mantra. He is the triad of the great mantra families. The progenitor of the significance of all mantras, he is the great Bindu, devoid of syllables, with 5 syllables and greatly void. He is voidness in the Bindu, with 100 syllables. Having all aspects, having no aspects, he bears 4 bindus. Partless, beyond enumeration, he sustains the limit, at the level of the 4th meditation. Directly knowing all the branches of meditation, knowing the lineages and families of concentration, with a body of concentration, the foremost of bodies, he is the king of all Sambhoga Kayas. With an emanating body, the foremost of bodies, bearing the lineage of all the Buddha's emanations, he emanates forth in every one of the 10 directions, acting for all the needs of the world just as they are. The deity beyond gods, the leader of gods, the leader of heavenly beings, he is the lord of the demigods, leader of the immortals, a guide of heavenly beings, a churner, and the lord of churners. Crossed over the wilderness of existence, he is unique, guide of the world, celebrated, and being the donor of Dharma to the world in its 10 directions, he is great. Dressed in the mail of loving kindness, equipped with the armor of compassion, armed with prajna paramita, a sword, a bow, and an arrow, he is victorious in the battle against defilements and unknowing. Having Mara as an enemy, he conquers Mara, a hero putting an end to the terror of the 4 Maras, the conqueror of the army of all Maras. He is completely awakened, the leader of the world. Praiseworthy, honorable, laudable, continually worthy of respect, he is the best of those to be worshipped, venerable to be given homage, the supreme guide. His gait being 1 step through the triple worlds, his course as far as the end of space, triple scienced, learned in scripture and pure, his are the 6 sublime perceptions, and the 6 recollections. a bodhisattva, a great being, beyond the world with great spiritual power, completed in the perfection of insight. He has realized reality through insight. Knowing himself and knowing others, being all for all, indeed he is the highest type of person, completely beyond all comparison. He has to be known, the supreme monarch of Gnosis. Being the donor of the Dharma, he is best, the teacher of the meaning of the four mudras. He is the best of the venerable ones of the world who travel by the triple deliverance. Glorious and purified through absolute truth, great with the fortune in the triple world, glorious in the making of all suchness, Manjushri is supreme among those possessed of glory. The 5 verses of the Gnosis of the 5 tatagatas. Reverence to you, the giver of the best, the foremost Vajra, homage to you, the limit of actuality. Reverence to you, whose womb is emptiness. Homage to you, the enlightenment of the Buddha. Reverence to you, the desire of the Buddha. Homage to you, the passion of the Buddha. Reverence to you, the joy of the Buddha. Homage to you, the delight of the Buddha. Reverence to you, the Buddha's smile. Homage to you, the Buddha's laugh. Reverence to you, the Buddha's speech. Homage to you, the Buddha's internal reality. Reverence to you, arisen from non-existence. Homage to you, the arising of Buddhas. Reverence to you, arising from the sky. Homage to you, the arising of Gnosis. Reverence to you, illusion's net. Homage to you, the Buddha's dancer. Reverence to you, the all for all. Homage to you, the Gnostic body. The arrangement of the mantra of Manjushri. Om. O pure Vajra whose proper nature is the non-existence of all dharmas. Ah, ah, ah. That is to say, employing the purity of Manjushri, the Gnostic body of all the tatagatas, bear up. Bear up the heart of all tatagatas. Om Hum Hri. O Blessed One, O Lord of Speech who is embodied Gnosis, O embryo of the Gnosis of Dharmadhatu, being very pure and stainless like the spatial field of all dharmas. The 5 verses as an epilogue. Then, the glorious Vajradhara, joyful and glad, with his hands folded in homage, bowed to the protector, the completely awakened, the Blessed One, the Tathagata. With many other kinds of Vajrapanis, all of them esoteric leaders, protectors, and kings of wrath, he loudly replied, "We rejoice, O protector. It is good. It is fine. It is well said. Great benefit is done for us in causing us to obtain perfect enlightenment. And also for this unprotected world desiring the fruit of liberation, this purified path to well-being is proclaimed as the practice of illusion's net. It is deep, lofty, and extensive, with great meaning, performing the aims of the world. Indeed, this object of knowledge of the Buddhas has been taught by the perfect, completely awakened. Proclaimed by the Blessed One, the Tathagata Shakyamuni, in the net of the Samadhi chapter occurring in the Mahayoga Tantra, the Arya Maya Jala, in 16,000 lines, this litany of names of the Blessed One, the Gnostic entity Manjushri, possessing absolute validity, is hereby complete.